Salutations, this is your pal Dr. Sal, and in today's topic we're going to tackle the topic of should you be taking a multivitamin every day? So it's a fair question. Should you bother taking a multivitamin every day? Now I've seen several experts, biochemists, biologists, etc. on media, on news, in papers and stuff, kind of poo-pooing the idea of taking vitamins every day. They either say it's unnecessary, it's an expense, the side effects outweigh the benefits, etc., etc. Now, to some degree, their opinions are not just based on their feelings, they are based on some degree of science. If you examine our food supply and tally up how much vitamins and minerals and stuff in them, and you consider that much of our food supply is vitamin enriched, vitamin fortified, etc., they feel, well, there's no way that the average Joe Blow needs to take a multivitamin. Well, on the other hand, I feel quite differently. And the reason for that is because I send literally thousands of people a year for blood tests like this one. This one's on myself. What is surprising to me is the number of times that these tests come back showing vitamin and mineral deficiencies. And it's usually a surprise to the individual as well. For people like vegans and vegetarians, it's not usually a surprise to them. What is surprising is that very often they're not deficient. And the reason for that is because they know that there's a possibility that they might be iron or B12 deficient, and because of that they kind of defend against that by taking extra quantities. It's actually the average people eating average diets that are more at risk because they're not expecting to be at risk. So it's actually Mr. and Mrs. Average that I usually see the problem is. And it's been a real eye-opener over the last decade, after running thousands and thousands of these blood tests, how many people are deficient. Now the next problem is when I'm running these tests, I don't even check for everything that you could be deficient in. Most of the time, the ones that commonly come up again is the iron, Fe, B12 is another one. And real shocker to me this year is I started doing vitamin D on a few older patients just for a lark. I don't know, it was just a random walk. I have no idea why I just started running it. But what I was surprised by is how many cases started coming back showing vitamin D deficiency. So since then I started measuring it in all my patients over 50, like throwing out a net trying to capture all the people who are deficient so I could start treating it. But what I'm trying to emphasize here is that that's only 3 common ones that we test for. Up to this year I tested all right, actually, let me give you a different scenario. So these are the 3 that we commonly test for. Here's an example of what's in a Centrum. And look at the ingredient list, how long that list is. There's got to be at least, I don't know, 26 to 30 different ingredients in there that we never test for routinely in traditional medicine. So if there's these 3 deficiencies I'm seeing so relatively commonly, well, how many of these other ones might people be deficient in that we're never even checking? There's a few others that I'll check some of the time, which are like magnesium, calcium, phosphorus, usually for purposes of vomiting. This one's for checking to make sure people aren't at risk for bone thinning. But again, these are not very commonly tested for by the medical fraternity. These are about the 3 best that we do. So in my mind, yes, it's possible that by measuring the diets that we're exposed to, deficiencies should be rare, but what I'm seeing is that in practice, they're not as rare as you might think. And you don't know which lottery ticket you're holding until you actually test for these. And many of them we don't even test for. So my personal philosophy is I've been taking a 1-a-day vitamin for years. This is a Centrum, but obviously it doesn't have to be Centrum. It could be an Equate, like a Walmart brand or your drugstore brand. One thing I do try to emphasize to people is I'll often see people coming in telling me, oh, they're just taking B12, for example. Well, I'll often ask them, well, why are you just taking B12? Or they're coming in saying, oh, I'm taking omegas. Well, that's well and fine, but that's like turning up to a work site and just having a bunch of nils but being deficient in screws and whatever other tools that you need for doing the job. So what I often will tell people is, well, if you're going to go to the trouble of taking a 1-a-day B12 every day or 1-a-day omega, why not just take a multivitamin and then get everything that you might be deficient in? So that's the first thing. And then sometimes if I'm feeling really run down on a weekend, like I had a real hard week with a lot of work stress and stuff, then I'll use one of these animal packs here. And as you can see, it's like chock full of a whole bunch of stuff. Some of the names I don't even know what they are, but I think it's helpful to me. So that gets me back on track. So bottom line is, my personal feeling and what I extend to my patients is, yes, it's a good idea taking a 1-a-day multivitamin because you just never know if you're deficient. And if you're deficient, it can cause reductions in your day-to-day career and home performance that you're not even aware of. Because very often these vitamin deficiencies, when I find them in my patient population, very often they're not even aware that there was something going wrong. If you get really severe, then it becomes very obvious. But before that, you may just get a reduction in performance and wonder why you're always tired all the time, or why you can't concentrate that well, or why you're not sleeping well, etc. So that's my 5 cents on multivitamins. Thank you for watching, and I wish you best of luck.
Thanks for watching. Get notified of new videos. Subscribe now.